Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to see you. Welcome back to another edition of the Ezra File. And I'm recording this Ezra File. What's the 22nd today? I'm recording this Ezra File 3 days after the departure of Donald Trump from his White House. Donald Trump must rank for me as the most divisive political character of my lifetime. I would say he's the only one that could come anywhere close to matching him on that one would be Mrs. Thatcher. But the difference between Mrs. Thatcher and Donald Trump is this. Mrs. Thatcher in America was loved, even though she wasn't an American president. Over here, Donald Trump is hated, even though he's not a British prime minister. But anyway, Donald Trump, the most divisive political figure, certainly of my lifetime. But there is something about Donald Trump that I'd like to just spend the next few minutes talking to you about. On the eve of his departure from the White House, one of the very final things that he did as president was that he issued a proclamation about the National Sanctity of Human Life Day. It's a proclamation around the whole area, the whole issue of abortion, of Roe v. Wade, and the sanctity of human life. As I've watched Donald Trump over these last 4 years and the sort of 6 months, year before that when he ran as a presidential candidate, whatever else he's done and whatever else he hasn't done, one area has stuck out to me as an area that he has consistently pursued in his presidency. He has consistently pursued a pro-life line. He's consistently stated his opposition to the practice of abortion in America. And that has been, I think, a clear theme that ran through his presidency. He has spoken on the subject many times. He's included the subject in other speeches on many different occasions. And of course, he appointed 3 justices to the United States Supreme Court on the basis of their professed pro-life views. Donald Trump has been the most pro-life American president of my generation. And he's an odd advocate of the pro-life cause is Donald Trump. If you look at Donald Trump is on his, I think he's on his 3rd wife, and listening to him and looking back on his life, he seems to me to have spent most of his adult life treating women as sexual playthings. And so therefore, presumably, he must have been casually, completely uninterested in what may have come from those dalliances with those women over the years. But here he is, consistently over the years as president, he has championed a pro-life line. It is often said of Donald Trump that he's a racist, that he's a white supremacist, that he's a whatever. I personally find that hard to reconcile with his pro-life views. If you look in America, if you look at the practice of abortion in America, if you look at Black women in America, Black women or Black people make up something like, and I'm quoting figures here at the top of my head, something like 10 to 12% of the population is Black in America. Black women are involved in something like 25 to 30% of all abortions. So abortion is disproportionately visited on Black women in America. And if you look at Planned Parenthood and the geographical distribution of their abortion clinics, then they are disproportionately located in Black neighborhoods. You could say that abortion is the most racist practice in America today. And Donald Trump has consistently taken a line against it. So you could say that Donald Trump really does appreciate that Black lives do indeed matter. So he's issued this proclamation on National Sanctity of Human Life Day. One of the last things that he did as president, and what I'd like to do over the next few minutes, I'd like to read to you that proclamation, because he does bear thinking about and study. Here is the proclamation. It runs to 2.5 sides of A4, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. Every human life is a gift to the world, whether born or unborn, young or old, healthy or sick. Every person is made in the holy God. The Almighty Creator gives unique talents, beautiful dreams, and a great purpose to every person. On National Sanctity of Human Life Day, we celebrate the wonder of human existence and renew our resolve to build a culture of life where every person of every age is protected, valued, and cherished. This month, we mark nearly 50 years since the United States Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision. This constitutionally flawed ruling overturned state laws that banned abortion and has resulted in the loss of more than 50 million, and I'll say that again, 50 million innocent lives. But strong mothers, courageous students, and incredible community members and people of faith are leading a powerful movement to awaken America's conscience and restore the belief that every life is worthy of respect, protection, and care. Because of the devotion of countless pro-life pioneers, the call for every person to recognize the sanctity of life is resounding more loudly in America than ever before. Over the last decade, the rate of abortions has steadily decreased, and today, more than 3 out of every 4 Americans support restrictions on abortion. Since my first day in office, I have taken historic action to protect the innocent lives at home and abroad. I reinstituted and strengthened President Ronald Reagan's Mexico City policy, issued a landmark pro-life ruling to govern the use of Title X taxpayer funding, and took action to protect the conscience rights of doctors, nurses, and organizations like Little Sisters of the Poor. My administration has protected the vital role of faith-based adoption. At the United Nations, I made it clear that global bureaucrats have no business attacking the sovereignty of nations that protect innocent life. Just a few months ago, our nation joined 32 other countries in signing the Geneva Consensus Declaration, which bolsters global efforts to provide better healthcare to women, to protect all human life, and strengthen families. As a nation, restoring a culture of respect for the sacredness of life is fundamental to solving our country's most pressing problems. When each person is treated as a beloved child of God, individuals can reach their full potential. Communities will flourish, and America will be a place of even greater hope and freedom. That is why it was my profound privilege to be the first president in history to attend the March for Life. And it is what motivates my actions to improve our nation's adoption and foster care system, securing more funding for Down syndrome research, and expanding health services for single mothers. Over the past 4 years, I've appointed more than 200 federal judges who apply the Constitution as written, including 3 Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. I also increased the child tax credit so that mothers are financially supported as they take on the noble task of raising strong and healthy children. And recently, I signed an executive order on protecting vulnerable newborn and infant children, which defends the truth that every newborn baby has the same rights as all other individuals to receive life-saving care. The United States is a shining example of human rights for the world. However, some in Washington are fighting to keep the United States among a small handful of nations, including North Korea and China, that allow elective abortion after 20 weeks. I join with countless others who believe this is morally and fundamentally wrong. And today I renew my call on the Congress to pass legislation prohibiting late-term abortion. Since the beginning, my administration has been dedicated to lifting up every American, and that starts with protecting the rights of the most vulnerable in our society, the unborn. On National Sanctity of Human Life Day, we promise to continue speaking out for those who have no voice. We vow to celebrate and support every heroic mother who chooses life. And we resolve to defend the lives of every innocent and unborn child, each of whom can bring unbelievable love, joy, beauty, and grace into our nation and the entire world. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim January 22nd, 2021, as National Sanctity of Human Life Day. Today, I call on the Congress to join me in protecting and defending the dignity of every human life, including those not yet born. I call on the American people to continue to care for women in unexpected pregnancies and to support adoption and foster care in a more meaningful way, so every child can have a loving home. And finally, I ask every citizen of this great nation to listen to the sound of silence caused by a generation lost to us, and then to raise their voices for all affected by abortion, both seen and unseen. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand this 17th day of January in the year of our Lord 2021, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 245th. Sorry, if you know the story, you'll understand why I kind of had to pause for that one. But he makes 2 points, I think, 2 points which are very well made in those words. First point that he makes is this: this month we mark nearly 50 years since the United States Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision. This constitutionally flawed ruling. And I think so it was. As you know, I'm a bit of a fan of this guy here, Francis Schaeffer, the American pastor, preacher, writer, theologian, whatever. And as you know, I've shown you my edition of the complete works of Francis Schaeffer. Schaeffer, of course, one of the leading lights of the beginnings of the pro-life movement in America. And this is volume 5 of his collected works. And he wrote a book called Whatever Happens to the Human Race, and in it he dealt with the subject of Roe v. Wade and abortion generally. And Francis Schaeffer calls Roe v. Wade arbitrary law. Donald Trump calls it constitutionally flawed. Francis Schaeffer called it arbitrary law. Why is it arbitrary? Why is it constitutionally flawed? Well, in America, the system goes like this. The source of your rights as a citizen, as an individual, comes from God. It comes from God through the Constitution, and is protected, and they are protected for you by the state. Roe v. Wade completely upended all of that kind of thinking. Roe v. Wade claimed that the United States Supreme Court could find within the United States Constitution a right to abortion, a right which had eluded that court for the previous 200 years. In other words, they made it up out of thin air to suit a particular cause. And Schaeffer says that is arbitrary law. That's an arbitrary process of reasoning. And so instead of your rights coming from God through the Constitution protected for you by the state is now the author of your rights. the state can give you whatever rights they want to give you, or alternatively, the state can withhold whatever rights they want to withhold from you. Roe v. Wade issued, I think, a blow to the American justice system from which it has not yet recovered. Donald Trump, a constitutionally flawed process. And the other point that he makes, and I think of the two, this is the much the more powerful and much the more meaningful, where he says this: "And finally, I ask every citizen of this great nation to listen to the sound of silence caused by a generation lost to us." The sound of silence of a generation lost to us. 50 million abortions in America since 1973. Whatever it is here, 9 million since 1967. What has been lost in that time? Maybe if these laws had not have been passed, maybe by now we would have cured cancer because one of those children would have found it. Maybe by now we would have unlimited supplies of cheap energy from cold fusion because one of those children would have found out how to do it. Maybe by now we would have artwork that makes the Mona Lisa look like finger painting because one of those children would have learned how to do it. Maybe by now we would have had music that would have relegated the Beatles to a footnote of the 1960s because one of those babies would have learned how to write music that the like of which you had never heard before. Who knows? One day, perhaps, in heaven, we'll be able to ask them. But in the meantime, Donald Trump, for all your faults, for all the things you got wrong, I thank you that in this area, you got it right. Be seeing you.